You guys need to try AFK Journey 2 right now. And now I know what you're thinking. Connor, I have so many gacha games on my plate. Can I even fit it all? And the answer is, with this game, you absolutely can. The reason for which I'll go into a little bit more depth later. However, let me just tell you about the most insane thing about AFK Journey 2, which is just its graphics. First and foremost, you start off the game customizing your character, which is traditional and typical in most gacha games or most games like this. But immediately following this intro character customization, you're introduced to one of the most unique and gorgeous looking games that I think I've ever seen. There's unique character designs, there's unique animations. It feels like every character has their own individual and unique story. It doesn't feel like they're copy and pasted. It doesn't feel like they're generic NPC character 1, 2, 3. And seriously, just to further support how ridiculous the animations and the graphics, look at how insane the ultimate skill animations are for this game. This is a game that has a lot of polish and a lot of time dedicated to its production and its quality. Let's go a little bit deeper. So if we talk about gameplay, there's one thing that is just hugely advantageous for AFK Journey 2 as opposed to any other game, and it's the fact that it has a PC client. A lot of gacha games in 2023 and even going into 2024 probably won't even have a PC client. And while of course I love my LD player, sometimes the emulators get buggy or sometimes they aren't as compatible, and this client runs smoothly. Client aside, something that I consider to be an insane standard that a lot of gacha games need to get on board with right now is the fact that you now have auto and 2x unlocked at the very beginning. This paired with the unique summoning animation, the ability to skip any dialogue that you want, or the ability to just sit back and actually enjoy the decent story. We have a lot of options here that most other games just don't give you. If we roll back to the summoning section for a second, you do also get a guaranteed epic after a number of pulls, which again, some games in 2023, some gacha games really still don't have that. This is just the industry standard at this point, and I hate that this is kind of like a big talking point, but you aren't getting scammed out of your summons. Who knew? Now within the actual gameplay and not just the summoning features, we have some serious depth potential. Within each fight, there are sometimes explosives, walls that divide you, high walls that prevent you from doing certain actions, ultimates that change the fight drastically depending on how creative you want to be and how exactly you want to approach fights. There's buffs, debuffs, stuns, attack buffs. It's not all static and it's not all linear or generic. And all of that is without talking about AFK Journey's pretty much like core thematic, which is the faction and resonance system. When you mix and match and you get certain pairings of these factions, you gain more power, and that will ultimately decide what kind of compositions you're going to run, what kind of characters you're going to run, and ultimately adds to the variety of each kind of fight. Additionally, the boss fights are still challenging, especially if you don't have the gear to just out DPS the fight. But on the topic of features and functionality, I do also want to give you guys a huge sigh of relief. There are a lot of familiar UI or very straightforward features that you can kind of act upon, so you're not lost trying to figure out what to do in the game. You pretty much can pick up the game as soon as you see it, especially if you played any other gacha games before. That isn't to detract from the tutorials, which there are plenty of, and unlike some other tutorials, they actually just go away after a couple seconds if you don't want to go through the tutorial, so you aren't forced to do a pull on an otherwise wasted summon, or you aren't forced to sit through or teleport to a location that you don't want to go to yet because you want to explore. Additionally, while we're talking about kind of the new player experience, the auto equip feature is just super nice. This in tandem with the power system, which is pretty much just see bigger number, stronger character, and allows you to beat up more content, is a really nice system for people that aren't super hardcore and are kind of just interested in a newish kind of gacha game that still has decent depth to be interesting. There are two modes of transportation in the overworld, and we'll talk more about the overworld as well. However, the fact that you can travel to places on the map so long as you select it and it'll just auto path you there is really insane. And that isn't even talking about if you just have waystones next to the locations that you're trying to get to, which is also just more time saved. Now, before we get into the topic of the overworld, I do want to talk about pretty much the title card or the reason why this is called AFK Journey, and it's because of this very interesting mechanic called the AFK stage, I guess it's called. When you clear stages within this kind of content, it increases your total resource generation, and ultimately when you come back from the game after sleeping or doing other content or maybe from an extended break, you just get a load of resources. It's very nice and satisfying feeling. Now, I know a lot of hardcore players will probably say like, oh, well, I'm gonna be playing every day, but for those of you that aren't able to play every day, this is insanely respectful and very nice for players that kind of just play on the commute to work or sometimes just can only play when they're at home. Now, as I mentioned, I love the simplicity of some of the systems in the game, and it is especially respectful to casual players, but there are definitely a lot of things that make this game very appealing to veteran or hardcore players and also casual or first-time gacha players. Now, when we talk about the overworld, there is kind of the elephant in the room, which is the overworld just boring? Is there any reason to it? Should I have just been able to play all of these things from a hub? And the answer is no. Your movement in the overworld feels very smooth, it's very responsive. The overworld doesn't just feel hollow. There's secrets secrets and treasures to find on your way. There's letters that are hidden that give you little tidbits about lore. There's more treasure, there's resources to pick up, and there's fights on the way to also give you EXP. Between that and the hidden caves and side quests, this kind of feels like an immersed world. On a side note, you can also zoom in and out of the map seamlessly, which is not really super related to the overworld, but I think it's really nice that there isn't any load time, and it kind of keeps your immersion intact. It doesn't feel like you're scrolling through like, you know, different game menus and you're kind of getting torn out and, oh, what does this do and what does that do, and oh my god, okay, I gotta wait for 5 to 20 seconds for this thing to load. And despite all the things that I just said about AFK Journey, one of the things that I actually consider to be the best about this game is the soundtrack and the sound effects. Now, this isn't any pandering or any buttering or anything like that. Listen to some of these sound effects. They're very crisp. They're very unique. This is not a reused sound effect from something that you could probably find from some workshop. These are very high quality sounds. They make you feel as though you are literally getting hit by swords or you're picking up gold. You're like clicking coins in your hand in real time. And that in combination with the voice acted scenes and animated characters, it genuinely feels like the story and the game is alive. Now, as always, there are things that you can improve about a game. However, from my initial experience with this game, I cannot believe that more people are not talking about it. Again, no buttering, no nonsense. This is just genuinely a nice feeling game. Anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, subscribe. Let me know what you think about AFK Journey 2. I personally haven't been having a blast with it. In all honesty, it's one of the better side games that I've seen. It's a game that literally wants you to go AFK, as it says in its title, and you get rewarded for doing so, which is, again, pretty crazy. This is also made from the creators of AFK Arena, if you've ever played that game or if you're familiar with it, which is something that I also played long before I ever did this video. However, guys, as always, make sure to check out the rest of my content. I stream on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. And of course, I'll see you guys all next time. Adios.